You move my mouth forward.
Yeah.
That's what she does. Welcome into Just the Tip, a fantasy football podcast. We are your hosts. We got Ryan the Tagless Haynes. We got Matt Regan. And I myself, Mac Disfatt-Bidge. And we got Kyle, producer Kyle that is, behind the keyboard, behind the screen, setting us up. Appreciate you guys. How you guys doing tonight, Ryan?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing great, man. I'm a little jealous of Regan. Regan here. He got to go to a football game before the rest of us. Regan, how was that preseason game?
It was beautiful, and it was also very uncomfortable at the same time.
Uncomfortable?
Yeah. Well, I sat in sweet tickets. I had sweet tickets from somebody. It was like one of those passed down to just nobody else wanted to go, so I got passed down again. And it was like the FedEx box. I went in there. There's lobster rolls to the right, refrigerator full of beer, no charge. I walked. I was like, I should be wearing a suit. This is ridiculous. It was so comfortable, but amazing.
That's awesome, man. I hope to make a game this year, but we'll see. But we just want to say thank you guys for joining us tonight. We are 22 days away from NFL kickoff. We are recording this on August 17th, 2021. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel there at Just a Tip, a fantasy football podcast. And if you're listening to us on audio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or Amazon, subscribe, follow, download the episode, like it, leave a review for us. We'd much appreciated. Try to get our numbers up, which they have been doing tremendous lately. We might say that we are the fastest growing fantasy football podcast from kids from Dighton, Rehoboth. You could definitely say that.
That was good.
I'm pretty confident.
That's coming from.
I was waiting for a fastest growing tips comment. I didn't get it. Missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity. I was just trying to narrow down a stat so I would not be lying to the public here.
You did well.
Appreciate it. We will get into our wide receiver breakdown. If you have joined us for QB and running back breakdowns, we do it tournament style. We have a bracket. We have a guest writer, I guess is what we call him, who break down the tournament bracket for us. And this week we have Kyle doing it for us for the wide receivers. So we'll get into that. But before that, we'll get into Haynes' briefs here.
Part of the podcast.
Ryan.
All right, boys.
Tell me something good.
Tell me something, man. Please tell me there's good news this week.
I do have some good news. So, if you guys have returned coming back from injury, it's some significant names in the fantasy community here. So, Devontae Smith comes back, returns to Eagles practice. Likely going to be Jalen Hurts' number one weapon this year. So, I know I have a few stocks or shares of him across my dynasty league. So, hoping he stays healthy. Odell Beckham Jr. also returns from that torn ACL from last season. So he had his first practice today. Melvin Gordon's back at Broncos camp. And probably the biggest news for returns, Darren Waller is back at Raiders camp today. Everybody can breathe a huge sigh of relief, especially those tight end lovers like Disfatt-Bidge himself. And so those are the notable comebacks. Now, there was a significant injury today. Chase Claypool landed awkwardly on a deep ball at camp. So we're waiting for news. We're waiting to hear what the injury is, how significant that injury is going to be, and if he's going to miss some time. I know I just made a trade for Claypool in one of my dynasty leagues, so this is a little bit of a kick to the nuts.
No, that's a bit of a problem.
It sure is. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on any of these pieces of news?
Waller is huge, man. That's probably the biggest takeaway for me, getting back out there. So It's good to see. I have 3 drafts coming up this weekend, so I want some good news going into it to see if I'm going to take him in the back of the second in one of my drafts or if I can get him in the third. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, I definitely want to go shoot high for that tight end. So hopefully he pans out. Regan, how about you?
I couldn't agree more with the Waller. I know producer Kyle's jumped for joy over here with the Raiders actually having a receiver that's not even a receiver. But
They're still going to go 500.
it's kind of obvious, isn't it, at this point?
Take over for me. I can't hear anything.
Oh, nice. But either way, my biggest thing is Chase Claypool. That's his second injury. I don't know if that freaks you out, Mac, but he's so. I think both of these have been on deep balls. Him trying to go up for a pass and just falling awkwardly, which is not a good sign in general. So
yeah,
they have 3 receivers, but in general, that's his draft capital is pretty high.
Yeah, I mean he's young. He'll bounce back. But yeah, I'm kind of curious. I want to see what these throws are like to see what position they're putting him in, and if he's just trying to be like a practice hero or what's happening there. Yeah, he should be careful, man, because the future should be bright for him.
That's a good point too, because this is Big Ben possibly throwing to him. This would be a good
Most
sign
likely.
to see if he's throwing well or if he's throwing like shit. And he's just trying to make a play, make a name for himself. So,
All right, boys, I'm back. I just wanted to add some suspense to this next bit of news, the most important news of the day. So 2 significant releases. The first, Kerryon Johnson was released from the Philadelphia Eagles, which is lessening a deep, whatever you want to call it, a big running back room. So maybe more opportunity for Miles Sanders there. Maybe I should have taken more time without, talking.
deep running back bench.
And then the biggest piece of news, tight end Tim Tebow has been released from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He does not make it through the first set of cuts. Mac, how many tears did you shed today?
While he laughed a lot.
316. About that many. It sucks. I picked him up in Dynasty because I wanted to play him in my flex to beat my rival, Chris Pexoto. Shout out to him. We've been going at it since high school. No big deal. In fantasy football.
Sounds kinky.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to beat him with Tim Tebow in my flex position just to say I did it. And now he won't be on a team, and it kind of sucks. But yeah, he shouldn't even be there. So it's about time, I guess.
Sadly deserved the drop. So
yeah. All right. I think is there anything else there? Or are we good?
I think we're good.
short and sweet.
Holy shit, there's a lot of news.
It's true, the market is becoming saturated.
Love that one.
All right. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna get into our bracket tournament style here. So Ryan, if you could just real quick explain the rules again for us while I set up something here.
Yeah, sure. So we're doing tournament style, like Mac was saying. So we basically will eliminate any players that we kind of have a consensus on, or players that you're really just, if you get any of them, you're just going to be happy. So we have taken out Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Calvin Ridley from this bracket. Again, those are pretty easy decisions come round one. So we start with number 5, DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to go through 16 players, 4 rounds, and see what producer Kyle has to say.
Simple enough. I do want to just say one thing about us having DeAndre Hopkins at 5 over Calvin Ridley. A little weird, but it works out like that. So consensus is consensus.
We'll get into it. All right, so we'll bring up the overlay here. We'll do first round, we got DeAndre Hopkins versus Julio Jones, Amari Cooper versus Tyler Lockett, Allen Robinson versus Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen versus Mike Evans, Justin Jefferson versus Juju Smith-Schuster, Terry McLaurin versus Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf versus Robert Woods, AJ Brown versus CeeDee Lamb. All right, and let's get into the first round here, Regan.
Round 1. Fight!
Alrighty, so we have number 5, DeAndre Hopkins, who should be number 4, but that's cool. Versus number 20, Julio Jones, who used to be like number 3. He's at 20 now. So Kyle's input on this is he's gonna pick DeAndre Hopkins. So this is what he's thinking. This is his words, not mine. Should I sing this? My body. Just kidding. All right, so he literally said, "My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me Julio." This could possibly be the worst way to start this episode. Hence me singing and that.
We've done worse.
But if I'm going to be honest, Julio can take the spot. Julio is going to be part of a well-rounded offense on a winning team. We all think that about Tennessee. He said, "I'm thinking Tannehill is going to be feeding him targets out of respect for his age group." That's awesome. That was where I hit you with the bad news, he says. Julio may only be 32 years old, but his legs are pushing 45. That might be pretty accurate. He's already had a bit of an issue in training camp, and he's missing some important learning time. He thinks Julio will surprise us this year, but I don't think a surprising win versus Hopkins is going to be it. Hopkins has a lot of things going for him, which we'll get into. Hopkins, that is. But his one side note was AJ Green is not going to be a factor, but he should be an interesting distraction to get some looks away from Hopkins, which I couldn't agree with more. He's guy's talent, and he's kind of got something to prove for himself. AJ Green, that is. So since he picked Hopkins, we'll kind of jump into Julio because we could talk about Hopkins a little bit later on. But Julio, he averaged a career high of 11.3 yards per target last year. That was around wide receiver 11 and half PPR. That's pretty good. I'm only bringing this up to just say he's not completely falling off. He had a career high last year in yards per target and stuff like that. He has totaled almost 1,400 yards in the 6 of the last 7 seasons. The main thing I have to take, I'm sure you guys have the same concept, is I see the situation kind of being the same in Tennessee as it is as it was in Atlanta, just pretty much switching out Ridley for AJ Brown. That being said, they're younger players. They both are stars. They're upcoming stars. They deserve their targets. The only downside to this from him moving from Atlanta to Tennessee is that Tennessee is a run-heavy team. So he's already going to lose some passes, some looks there, as well as already having the same thing he had like he did in Atlanta with somebody else also deserving those catches. So I kind of see a cap on, I'll get into it later, but with Jones and Brown, I kind of see them as low-end wide receiver 1s with high-end wide receiver 2 upside. What do you guys think? Well, you, Ryan.
I agree with you. So AJ Brown and Julio Jones. I won't get into AJ Brown, but I don't have either of these guys making 100 catches this year, which I know might surprise some people, but I think it's just a matter of volume. So Julio Jones comes from an offense that passes the ball more than any other offense in football, maybe with exception to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know that that might not be the case this year, but historically, in the last couple of years with Julio Jones, they have passed a heck of a lot. So I just don't think the volume's going to be there. AJ Brown is certainly going to take away a lot of targets from Julio Jones. I don't know how much Anthony Fursker, the tight end there, is going to be involved in the passing game. He could take a considerable amount of targets. So although I like Julio, I'm not super high on him. Mac, what do you think?
Well, the side note, I guess they're not really liking Firsker there, so they were looking to trade for another tight end, and we're working out other ones a couple weeks ago. So I don't see him being much of a factor. They didn't trade for Julio Jones to become a blocker. What's the definition of insanity? Having Kyle as a friend? No.
That's good.
Doing the same thing twice, expecting different results. All right. So the Titans have hit a wall with their running game. They needed the passing attack. So, you guys ever see Ted Lasso?
Of course.
Why do you always have the weirdest stuff?
It's not
Ted
weird.
Lasso's
Man.
a fantastic show. You need
It's
to
a
watch
great
it
show. Great show,
immediately.
Man.
Put it on the dog.
Yeah. Anyway, they talk about how you have a goldfish memory, 10 seconds. And
I do.
Me too. Me too. But all right. Julio Jones was a top 7 wide receiver the past 7 seasons, minus last year. He was 51. All right. Top 7 wide receiver, man. And his ADP right now is around 38. And if he has that upside, I mean, he demands 130 targets, though. And with one of the most accurate QBs right now in the league, with Ryan Tannehill, with huge play action threat, I don't know. I could see him getting 100 receptions, but he's a yardage guy. And people might be nervous that he hasn't been practicing or playing preseason games and stuff, but he's a vet. He doesn't need a practice, all right? So practice, right? I need that drop. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on Julio. At his ADP at 38, yeah, I would love him on my team right there.
ADP is solid. So what I mean by
Yes.
I'm not high on him is that I'm not as high on him as some of these other guys we're going to talk about. But his ADP is certainly a really good value.
In context, yes, I would take DeAndre Hopkins over Julio Jones for sure.
And just know
I just wouldn't call him into the retirement home just yet. 45-year-old legs, get out of here.
Kyle had a good write-up on it. I just wanted to say, we're talking about Julio. Once we get into A.J. Brown, some of the similarities will kind of follow over, so pay attention if you're curious about Julio.
Yeah. And
All right,
you want
Ryan.
more of a breakdown on Ryan Tannehill, check out our QB breakdown. I go on some pretty interesting stats there.
He loves them.
We won't get into it now. I do love it. Ryan, you were up.
You and your plugs, man, they're so well timed. Proud of you. All right, next matchup. So number 12, Amari Cooper versus number 13, Tyler Lockett. So Kyle says, as much as I hate shitting on former Raiders players, parentheses, I don't, and parentheses, Cooper has to go bye-bye. If Amari and Dak can ease those ankles back into the swing of things, I could see where Amari makes top 15. Ooh, bold comment. But it's going to be tough to know if Dak is going to be as mobile and confident after that kind of injury. Both guys are also getting into that veteran age bracket where some of these injuries could start adding up, but you know who's not? CD Lamb. Speaking of snapping ankles, what's up, Tyler Lockett? This guy's going to have some serious upside. I think with the numbers we know he can produce and a new offense, the sky's the limit. Fight me, Ryan.
What's it calling you out, man?
I love it.
Oh, I gotta look at my rankings here. I actually, I do have Amari Cooper above Tyler Lockett. I think Dak returns to form. We've talked about Tyler Lockett's inconsistencies. I think DK Metcalf is going to be more involved in that passing game, even though like he is already super involved. But I think he's going to be more consistent this year. And I like Amari. He's Dak's number 1 option. I get that CD Lamb's there, but if Amari's healthy, Dak's healthy, I can see him being a top 10 receiver. So my take is bolder.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, all right, his ADP is 42 and Tyler Lockett's is 55. So, yeah, people are liking Amari Cooper. So that's a bold take from Kyle there. They have some tough defenses on the road there. He seems to lackluster the boom play. And it was a tough year last year, man. He was wide receiver 15 with Garrett Gilbert, Ben DiNucci, and Andy Dalton throwing him the ball, man. So if he can get to wide receiver 15 with only a handful of games with Dak Prescott, man, I would love him as my QB, as my wide receiver too. So it's a safe pick. It's just you gotta be careful of those road games. He kind of doesn't show up for him. He misses the bus. Regan, what are your thoughts, man?
Just, honestly, both of these two kind of like scare me in general for drafts. Picking anyways, anywhere. I mean, that being said, for Amari Cooper, the problem is like we said it, like he's been a wide receiver 2, 20 out of 41 games for the Cowboys. Which is about 48%. He averaged a wide receiver 2 position. I think when he was with the Raiders, it was a lot lower. So everybody looks at that and thinks it's amazing. That being said, a wide receiver 2, I don't know if it's, I don't know. Like I said, what I want to say is the 48%, it actually matches Stephon Diggs' career numbers as a wide receiver 2. And that's actually higher than Terry McLaurin at 48%. So to put it in perspective, he does rank 50% of the time as high as Stephon Diggs or Terry McLaurin in points. But I have to. Everything scares me about him. He's now going to be behind Lamb, and we'll get into Lamb a little bit later on about him moving around the field and getting more catches and stuff like that. But I just see Amari Cooper as kind of like he's honestly, I think he's going to be like the forgotten wide receiver here compared to Lamb. Lamb's going to be the up and coming and so on. So
the hype is definitely going up for Lamb, that's for sure, especially with Hard Knocks and stuff. So they're definitely going to be highlighting him. Bright future for him. But yeah, I don't know. I still like Amari Cooper.
Jerry Jones's salt intake is way too much. You see how much salt that guy put on his breakfast sandwich? He doused the thing.
Side note, yes, that's ridiculous. And McCarthy is so freaking like Mojo got the Mojo time. Oh my god!
Oh my god! Right?
I want to turn it off right there. I was like, okay, enough. I can't do this.
Jerry Jones had like a McDonald's sandwich, right? Like the cholesterol in a McDonald's sandwich is already crazy, and then he's like, just dumps the whole salt thing.
Salt.
He's a billionaire. He's fine. He'll just
get it all clog arteries.
Yeah, some like nanobots going in there, clean it up. He's fine. All right, shall we move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, we got Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin, number 8 and number 17, respectively. Here. So Kyle's winners, Allen Robinson. He's all right. Let's keep this short and sweet. Yeah, we try. Godwin is an excellent receiver, but so is Mike Evans, Antonio Brown. He does love Antonio Brown for his cup of coffee he spent with the Raiders. But a notable mention, who may steal some shares, Scotty Miller. I don't know about that. One game, maybe. Never mind the caveman Gronk, who will also be snatching some TDs off the table, which Godwin needs to have a successful fantasy season. Honestly, I'm not seeing how Godwin, who is likely to miss a few games here and there, climbs so high in these rankings along with his fellow teammates. Maybe a little too much faith in Brady by our hosts. Shots fired, man.
Yeah.
Allen Robinson, on the other hand, with being leveling up with QBs, hopefully twice this year, which only looks to be moving him up the rankings. But even with a trash QB, he's proven himself wide receiver 1. Very true.
100%.
Very true. So Chris Godwin here. All right, he missed 4 games and a 5th one with injury. He had to exit early last year. Then they slowly worked him back, and he played with broken hand and stuff. Like, what was it, broken pinky or something?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. And he was the wide receiver number 2 in 2019. This is the other thing with the short memory, man. Like, if he has that kind of upside and he still missed 2 games in that 2019 season and his ADP's at 43 right now, I think that's a steal. And I am projecting Tom Brady to be trying to go for the touchdown record before he retires and throwing over 5,000 yards. And he does like Godwin. And when they were working together, he was targeting him 10 to 12 times a game. So we'll see. All right, so he should have His ceiling high. I don't think he will get into the top 5 because of all the other wide receiver weapons they have on the team. But if he's being taken at the wide receiver 15, I think he can get into the top 10. So he's definitely going to outperform his ADP there, if all goes well. But as a highly competitive wide receiver field, I do get that. How reliable is Antonio Brown to even make it through a full season, though, before he does something stupid? So I don't know. As long as Godwin's out on the field, man, I can see him cracking the top 10. Regan, what do you got?
I think I'm looking at just our consensus rankings. So top 10 would be right around A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson. I could definitely see him getting into that little group. That's honestly a great group in general. As for Chris Godwin, I think you touched on it. He saw at least 6 targets in 10 to 12 games, despite all the talent around him, which is amazing. So Tom Brady obviously loves him. The one thing I was a little nervous about was he didn't hit the 100-yard mark in a game until week 17. And that was with Mike Evans out. So, that and then just all the injuries. He played through a lot of injuries, never mind missing with injuries. So I think he's got a lot of upside. I think last year was kind of something we shouldn't put too many eggs into the basket type of thing. So, Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, the thing I know about Tom Brady, and you even saw it last year, is that the guy likes to spread the ball. And he lost some weapons on that offense throughout the season, particularly like O.J. Howard. I know Godwin had missed some games. I know Antonio Brown was only there for half the season. So there's a lot of things to consider here now that everybody's healthy and they're kind of fully loaded for an entire season. My thought process with all of these top receivers is just that there's a lot of targets to share, and I just don't know what the consistency is going to look like, and I also just don't know how many opportunities there are going to be for each one of these guys. There's going to be a lot of opportunities overall, but, like I said, Tom likes to mix up who he goes to. He's probably going to throw to Cameron Brate. He's probably going to throw to O.J. Howard. He's probably going to throw to Gronk. He's probably going to throw to Scotty Miller. Those guys are going to take away touchdowns, big catches from Brown, Evans, Godwin. So, again, I really like these guys. I think Chris Godwin has top 5 wide receiver potential. I just think there's just a lot of options there.
I'm gonna shed a couple points on Chris Godwin with our next matchup. If you guys are ready to jump into it.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, please.
Don't mess with me. All right. We got our next matchup in round 1 is number 9, Keenan Allen versus number 16, Mike Evans. Is hence why I want to talk about Chris Godwin in this a little bit. So Kyle has Keenan Allen winning, which I couldn't agree with more. Again, he said he's going to keep this sweet, but his main thing is targets. So he says, I'm totally with you guys on Allen. I think Herbert's confidence and talent when throwing the ball is going to take another step in the right direction this year, which is great news for Allen, who had 40 more targets in 2 fewer games than Mike Evans. I love it. Keenan Allen, he's going to be a PPR machine. We'll talk about him a little bit later on, I hope. So let's talk about Mike Evans and kind of throw in Tampa Bay a little bit. So Mike Evans, he had 13 touchdowns last year, which is insane. That accounted for 32% of his PPR fantasy points. So for almost 1/3 of his fantasy points is all based on 13 touchdowns. He's never had back-to-back double-digit touchdowns ever in fantasy. What is this going on year 8 that he could have possibly?
8 or 9, yeah.
I think it's 8 with going for 1,000 yards. That being said, he's never had back-to-back double-digit touchdowns. So that just leads me to believe that last year, that 1/3% of all his fantasy points is definitely going to drop. He had career lows in many receiving categories last year, including depth of target and yards per catch. So things kind of went down a little bit with Tom distributing the ball here and there. I did just want to note, too, Chris Godwin, he's always going to get around 6. Like I said, he's always going to get around 6 catches a game. Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, they are not going to average 6 touchdowns. They do not go over the middle like Godwin does. He's not more of the relief valve, like the third down conversion type of guy. Chris Godwin, I think, should be ranked higher than Mike Evans in general, especially ceiling wise. I'd rather take the 6 definite catches over the shot at trying to get 13 touchdowns again, which I just don't think is going to happen. What do you guys think? Mac?
Ryan, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Like I say, I think, Reeks, I think you took all my points there. Like, and I have him 26th, and you still have him wide receiver 1 at 12.
Hey, sometimes you do your research and you're like, crap, I was an idiot.
So I think that the touchdown
that will get people to stay.
was a huge thing for Mike Evans. I have his stats here from last season: 70 receptions, just barely cracked 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and he played in all 16 games, guys. Like, I understand that historically this guy's been an absolute beast, but there are other options there, and Brady really targeted Mike when they were down in the red zone, which, again, when you start bringing back guys like O.J. Howard, and you start bringing guys in like Scotty Miller, who might take away a couple of touchdowns, and you don't know exactly how many touchdowns. I don't know. I could see Mike Evans dropping into the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 area.
2, keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, he does have that boom or bust type wide receiver feeling with him. Yeah, he is tough. Makes every game. He's been top 15 in the last 3 seasons. Excuse me. I think he still will get his 1,000 yards though. Look for the TDs to regress though. Yeah, I think we are kind of high on Evans here, but if I'm projecting Brady to go off, then Evans is going to have to help. So that's why I have him at 11.
He will be sliding.
I think you are. He'll be sliding. All right. And I will gladly take him when I draft against you guys this weekend.
Enjoy those 7 touchdowns.
And 1,000 yards in consistency.
All right.
As my wide receiver, too.
True.
His ADP is at 35 right now, so maybe he won't be my wide receiver 2. He would have to be the wide receiver 1 if I go running back. So yeah, that's tricky.
Well, if they listen to this podcast, he might drop around.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should all just drop him. All right, moving on. Ryan, I think you were up.
Yeah, last food for thought there. I like how I flipped Reeks without even saying anything.
Flip myself.
He just talked himself into it.
Yeah.
All right. Next matchup here. What were you going to say, Matt?
Never mind.
Next matchup here. Number 6, Justin Jefferson versus number 19, Juju Smith-Schuster. So Kyle's winner here, clearly Justin Jefferson. I think any of us are going to disagree with that. And he says, speaking of people I don't like, Juju doesn't have a lot going for him this season. If TikTok somehow made you get more yards per perception, then I would go with Juju. I don't think that's possible. Big Ben is in his final season with the Steelers, so he thinks, and probably looking to change old ways. I don't know what that means per se, but sure, he's got a lot of baggage for sure in multiple ways. Juju has a lot of competition for looks. Ben might be a little bit more likely to dump it off to somebody like Najee Harris, who might gobble up some of those targets. And he said, I think a plus for him is his red zone targets, which 2 more touchdowns really doesn't make up for the extra 500 yards Jefferson beat him by last season. So, yeah, he seems to be a little bit low on Smith-Schuster, and obviously compared to Justin Jefferson, I think we're all in agreement there that JJ is the much more desirable asset. What do you got, Mac?
Yeah, I mean, he did take the contract lower in money as well. I think he's betting on himself, Juju here. He can get over 100 receptions though. Low yards because of the run game though, because they're trying to develop that with Najee. So Yeah, I'm not really targeting Juju at all. He had 5 bust games. That's lower than 10 points, and then 4 games with just over 20 points. So he's a good flex, I guess, but it's not like you're really targeting him, unfortunately. But I do like guys in contract years, so who knows?
I think
Maybe
his main thing
maybe
is
a wide receiver 3. Sorry, Regan.
no, that's fine. I was kind of just gonna play right off of what you said. Like so he had 128 targets last year, which was 15th most in NFL. You know, despite having those a great wide receiving core. Wouldn't say great, but a good wide receiving core. That being said, with Claypool, he just keeps getting hurt, and I feel like this is going to be something that occurs more often this year. And I think Juju, like you said, coming in betting on himself, which I'm so surprised he did with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you know, good for him having faith in himself and doing something about it. But without somebody getting hurt, and them obviously trying to get Najee running and probably catching, his ceiling is going to drop if somebody does just get hurt. Simple enough. I am staying away from Juju. I'm the lowest on him. I think I'm at 22. I might even drop him a little bit more.
Yeah, his ADP is at like 70 right now. So he's a cheap wide receiver 3.
That's what so just one more thing with Juju here. I was looking at Fantasy Pros and their ADP, and they take a consensus from 5 different websites here. So they have him at 72, wide receiver 27. So they're thinking the same thing, Mac, like wide receiver 3 category. I think he's a little bit higher than that. He was wide receiver 15 last year, and there's basically the same offense outside of Najee Harris. I don't know if I see him dropping 12 spots. I could see him around where we have him at 19 is a fair ranking for him.
Yeah, probably. I keep forgetting to mention at the top, unless you guys did and I missed it. PPR format is what we go off of, and yeah, I was using sleeper rankings there because that's what I've been mocking off of a lot lately. So yeah, thanks for that tip there, Ryan. I appreciate your tip. All right. What do we got next? We got number 11, Terry McLaurin, and number 14, Cooper Kupp. All right. Kyle's winner. This one's a big shocker to me, actually. He has Cooper Kupp winning. Hot take alert. Oh, man. Hot take alert.
He wrote
Cooper
that.
Kupp.
Wow.
Huh?
He wrote
Cooper Kupp. Yeah, he wrote it. This is Kyle. He's going to have more fantasy points by the end of the season than Terry McLaurin. Oh, man. I know Ryan is already thinks so, and I bet Regan could be swayed in this direction if someone flashed him shirtless pictures of Matt Stafford, his man crush. Mac, not so easy, as he experienced Fitzmagic and has been a few buttons down ever since. I think the biggest difference here is going to be TDs. All right, D plays Kupp will be gaining with Stafford's accuracy and ability to hit the guy downfield. Other than that, not a ton separating these two. All right, I'll get into more of Cooper Kupp later, but your Terry McLaurin take here, Kyle. His ADP is at 32 right now. I don't get it. He's the number 1 target on the team. Meatloaf will feed him the ball. I kind of have a new take on Mr. Meatloaf here, though. He's more of like a smorgasbord. You never know what kind of quarterback he's going to be. Okay, so maybe he's like a box of chocolates, actually. But
not the chocolate
but
part.
Just a smorgasbord. He's a different type of quarterback depending on the game. He could really suck. He could be really great. He could be the number 1, or he could be the number 24. Who knows? Anyway, back to Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel is fresh off the pup list, so he may struggle all season. Who knows? It's a competitive division, so they do have to pass. So I want a guy that's going to get the targets. His targets have trended up from 6 per game to 10. They want him to have the ball, and I'm going to take a guy that they are trying to game plan feeding him the ball. I'll take that more often than not. So What do you guys got on that? Anything, Regan?
For Terry McLaurin, he said he's 32 was ADP, which is like
Off a sleeper, yeah.
right. So that's a little. I've been getting him late third round, so that's right around there for the most part. Fell a little bit, but I don't mind that there. We all know, like you said, Fitzpatrick is going to pepper his number one receiver over and over again. His first 2 years, he had over 2,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. We all know he has the capability of having a 1,000-yard year. He's done it twice, obviously. Oh, man. I actually agree with Kyle, though. I would have gone Cooper Kupp. as much as it leans me towards the Stafford parade once again. Thanks, Mac. Thank you so much. Terry McLaurin, we just don't know what Fitzpatrick, like you said, we don't know what Fitzpatrick is going to bring to the board. Who is going to be his number one? Do we really know? We don't. And that being said, Terry McLaurin could definitely be it. So his ceiling is high, but I do have his floor pretty low in general. I still think where his ADP is great, though. I'm fine with taking a shot with him in third. If I can get him in the fourth, I'd be ecstatic. Or early fourth. Ryan,
all right, man.
You gonna say something?
Ryan, are you an idiot too, or do you agree with me?
Idiots. So, like Johnny Damon in the 04 Red Sox.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Like I love Terry McLaurin. I love Terry. I think I have him ranked like 11th or something like that. So I still have him as a wide receiver one. Really good value. Seems to be going around like the early
Ryan,
third.
Your mic's a little messed up, but yeah, you have him ranked Terry McLaurin, that is 12th, and you have Cooper ranked 9th. So yeah, you are pretty high on Cooper Kupp. But yeah, continue on with what you were saying.
Yeah, you can hear me now a little bit better.
Yes, much better. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think Terry McLaurin. I still have receiver one. I still have. He's going like early third. All right, move on. Terry McLaurin, bounce.
I like
Terry.
It's all right. You're good. Keep going.
No, I think that's it. His ADP right now is great, and he's still a wide receiver one to me. I'm super high on Cooper Kupp this year.
All right. We'll get into that more later.
Too.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Ryan?
Yes.
All right, Regan. Next one.
Oh crap! What are we doing next? Oh, all right. So, is that the last one? Nope, we got two more. All right, so number 7, DK Metcalf versus number 18, Robert Woods. Kyle's got DK Metcalf winning this one, which I think is bullshit. That's just me, though. So, these are Kyle's words, not mine. Insert shirtless photo of DK Metcalf here, or a video of him chasing down a guy down in the field, which was... Who was it? Buda Baker. Oh, I actually looked it up earlier. Buda Baker, and he ran 22.64 miles per hour, which is insane. I can't even get my dad's electric bike that fast. Bicycle, that is.
You know who ran faster last year? Or was it the year before?
What?
Daniel Jones.
Then he tripped on the one.
He tripped up, yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, continue.
All right, continue with Kyle's input. So DK Metcalf, he's a monster, and rumor has it that Woods is a little less of a savory target for Stafford, that is. I just can't compare Russell Wilson's number one option to a guy who cracked 20 fantasy points once last season. Sorry, Robert, but you're not the guy, pal. You're not the guy. And that's probably why me and Ryan are somewhat high on Cooper Kupp, that is.
Because Robert Woods won't be good?
I don't think he's going to be as good. I think Cooper Kupp is going to take over more of the number one target, more of the targets. I think with these two receivers, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, that is, they've been pretty much even. Whether one gets more catches or one gets more touchdowns, the fantasy points have been somewhat even, and their draft ADP has pretty much been even as well. Some notes I had on Robert Woods. He's finished wide receiver with around 10 to 17 in the past 3 seasons. So he's he's always outperformed his ADP every year. I think we all can say that he always is drafted later than he should be. You know, the big thing in question is just Matthew Stafford and how he can divvy out the ball to these two guys. They were saying I read something about Robert Woods just not having the routes. Like the offense last year was based on Jared Goff's positives, if he had any, and Robert Woods. What's that?
Jared Goff's abilities.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I was making fun of. Yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
So, and Robert Woods was the better receiver for his abilities. That being said, I think in my rankings, Cooper Kupp obviously has better abilities for Stafford. Ryan, do you agree with my Kupp Woods here?
I do. I think Woods is right around 8 touchdowns. I want to say he was like 9 or 10 last year, so I have him going down a little bit there. And I just think Kupp, we'll get to him, but I think just the target share kind of leans in his direction. And again, I like Robert Woods. I think he's going to be a reliable number 2 as always. That's kind of where I see his ceiling. I don't see him jumping into that wide receiver 1 category.
Like you said, as always, I'm not shying away from Robert Woods. Like I said, the past 3 years, he's been between 10 and 17 wide receiver, and always his ADP has been lower than that, so you're getting a bargain necessarily. So, Mac, what do you got on this?
Yeah, his ADP is at 50 right now, and I'll just 2 other facts. You already touched on a lot of it. Sean McVay might be on the hot seat this year, man. Like if he doesn't make a huge impact and the offense doesn't go wild this year, I can see him getting in a little trouble. He is a great flex play. If you're looking to trade for him in Dynasty, this is the year to do it. All right, he's 29, and if you're going to go on a run, okay, I would keep him. But say you're out of it, I think he's going to do pretty well. You might want to offload him to somebody that's going to try making a run at the chip. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, obviously Metcalf's better.
I was saying,
but
I
think
right?
I am talking about Woods. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying Metcalf beats him out. No problem.
Agreed.
I do think Woods is going to do better than Kupp this year. But anyway, moving on. Ryan, I think you're up.
Sure, and I'll try to speed this up for the sake of time. So we had number 10, A.J. Brown versus number 15, CeeDee Lamb. Kyle picks A.J. Brown. Says it was a pretty tough call. Could very well be CeeDee's year. He was heading in the right direction last year before Dak was injured and even maintained some value after the fact. Problem is A.J. almost averages a touchdown a game as well as having that ability to pile on some 150-yard games. So, yeah, A.J. Brown is a boom player. He gets a lot of those big plays that end up resulting in a touchdown. I don't know. This could go either way. A.J. Brown's pretty touchdown dependent too, so we'll kind of see how it plays out. But I could see A.J. Brown here being a good choice. You guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. Lamb's ADP right now is 47. I think that the hype, though, will go up because of Hard Knocks and stuff. As a rookie, wide receiver 22 with the crap QBs I already talked about, and an injured O-line I forgot to mention. Tough schedule to begin, though. You got Tampa Bay and the Chargers to start off with at their stadium. And a couple weeks later at New England. Good thing, though, his snap percentage was only around 60%, a little bit over. So I'm sure that's going to get above 80. And you're going to have to pick the right one between Cooper and him. And usually the history shows that whoever is ADP is first between those two wide receivers, that's usually the better one. So when you're drafting, you probably, if you can't decide between the two, Lamb or Amari Cooper, go with the one that's going first because usually you'll be right. And I'm also nervous of Zeke making a big comeback and taking a lot of those passing targets from him scoring or dump off passes to him and just making a tremendous play. And then, I don't know. I just don't know if the passing attack will be that great. And also, Dak's injuries. So, Regan, what do you got?
Well, for the sake of time, let's talk about Zeke and our leftovers because I'm interested in that note. Anyways, Dak agreed. He injured his shoulder again. We don't know if this was blown out of proportion or if this is a real thing. He's expected to come back, I believe, this week. That being said, back to CeeDee Lamb. He averaged 17.1 PPR points with Dak. That was around wide receiver 12 for those first couple games. It dropped down to 13, like you said, which is still not bad. The problem is with the last thing with Lamb is he 91% snap percentage from the slot. They did come out and say he was going to be moving around a lot, which is huge. So if he can get out of that single slot area and move around, he will get more passes. He will have better opportunities for fantasy value. So question is, does he get out of that slot more? Which they said he was, but coaches say a lot of things.
That is true, man.
All right.
All right. Yep, moving on.
Round 2.
Nice. Okay.
Who's on round 2 here?
Well, let me read the round 2 real quick. So the winners from round 1, we got round 2, number 5, DeAndre Hopkins versus number 13, Tyler Lockett. We have number 8, was it Allen Robinson versus number 9, Keenan Allen. Number 6, Justin Jefferson versus number 14, Cooper Kupp. And then the last one's number 7, DK Metcalf versus A.J. Brown. So who do we got up first? Ryan. No.
Nope, me. I'm going up. We got Hopkins versus Lockett. All right, Kyle's got, I think Lockett's boom or bust is going to give Hopkins the slight edge here. If Lockett can have like 1 or 2 more of these insane performances, I think he surpasses Hopkins in total fantasy points. Very true. But in the end, he's only pushing you through a couple more weeks of the season where Hopkins will be a consistent and more valuable play. Yeah, totally agree. Wildly inconsistent Lockett here. He has more busts than booms. So, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that if you take him. Maybe things will change this year with the developing offense. He was the wide receiver 8 last season overall, but he had 7 games with under 10 points. All right, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure you really want to suffer with that, especially if you go running back for your first 3 rounds and then you're struggling to get receivers. So if he's a wide receiver 3, fine, in a flex play, but that's about all I want with him. His ADP is around 55 right now. What do you got, Regan?
Tyler Lockett, easy win for Hopkins here. Lockett, scary. ADP, you said 50?
55 right now.
Yeah. Still going to stay away from him at this point. He's top 15 wide receiver in 3 straight seasons, but it's all a lie. Last year, 37.5% of the time, he was a wide receiver 2 or better. So majority of the time, he was not even a wide receiver 2. You are probably going to be drafting him as a wide receiver 3 flex, which is not too bad. You are going to get those boom plays. That would be the only time I feel comfortable playing him. Ryan?
Yeah, it's all situational with him too, right? So to spend high draft capital on a guy who you're likely going to be looking to bench for half the season, and who knows if he's one of those guys where you think he's got a bad matchup and you bench him and then he scores like 53 points and you want to cry yourself to sleep that night. I'm gonna stick away from Tyler Lockett unless he's on my bench and I can plug him when I know he's gonna go off. I'm gonna pass.
You never know, though. You never know. And that's the problem with him. You have to start him so you catch those boom games. Yeah. It kind of sucks drafting him or having him on your team. Because you have to make that decision.
Yep,
yeah,
major headache.
Flex for those boom plays. Just put him in the flex.
Yeah.
Best. It's the only place you can put him.
All right. Regan, you're up.
Let's keep this rolling. I cringed when I saw my name next to this matchup. This one, I love these 2 guys. Number 8, Allen Robinson versus number 9, Keenan Allen. So we got Kyle pick Keenan Allen, which I could go either way on this. Let's see what he's got to say, though. The faith in Herbert and Allen being BFFs this year is strong with me. At the end of the day, there's a chance they drag out this Andy Dalton situation a bit too long and throw a rookie QB into a messy situation. Hey, if that's your train of thought, Kyle, that's a great way to put this, and that's a great reason why you pick Keenan Allen. He's got an established quarterback coming into his second year, and he killed it last year with him. Notes on Allen. So last year he had 102 receptions, 1,250 yards, and 6 touchdowns with shitty QB play. I think we all know this. He's crappy QB play. He's been able to finish top 12 receiver in back-to-back seasons. You can't beat that. Is it Allen Robinson? Do you know his ADP, Mac?
33.
33. So you get him early third round?
Yeah.
Late second, early third, right around there.
Middle
So
of the third.
I think I've been getting him like mid-third in my drafts, which I'm fine with. And if I get him as like my third, not my third wide receiver, my second wide receiver, I'm pumped. So I have got him as my third wide receiver. It's been pretty cool teams. That being said, I think Allen has a lot of upside with what's his name coming in at QB. Why am I zoning out?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
The guy I'm so high on, and I can't
Yeah, I was
remember.
just saying, boy, there. Come on, man.
Losing it.
Wide receiver mode. It's all right.
Yeah. Mac, what do you think about this one? This is a tough one for me.
All right, where to begin? Okay, so Keenan Allen went off with a rookie quarterback last year, so why can't Allen Robinson go off with one of the most accurate QBs from last season with Justin Fields, man? He hasn't had that, but also Andy Dalton, keep this in mind, he was the number 4 QB in 2013. So it's been a while. Yeah.
What?
So he ain't staying in there long. I just don't think they want to throw Fields into the fire against the Rams opening day. So I get that. But he's the number 1 on the team. They could be division winners, Chicago as well. They got a good defense, and they've been steadily climbing in their record. And if Vikings defense can't shape up and Green Bay implodes, watch out for Chicago, man. He's also took the franchise tag, didn't sign a contract. He's betting on himself. And that's all I have to say about that.
Right.
Right, you got it.
I don't have much more, guys. I like.
I
Allen
pretty much
Robinson a
took
lot.
everything. I'm sorry. I was trying to leave you some bullet points. I took everything.
I think he could easily pass Keenan Allen this year. In fact, I think I have him ranked over. I do. I have him ranked over Keenan Allen because Justin Fields just has so much of a ceiling, and I think the point of Robinson playing with shit quarterbacks, we can say that over and over again. And I think just having a decent quarterback would make him a top 10 receiver.
The only thing on Allen is just when does he start? That's the only thing. That's just going to bump the average of his fantasy points down a little bit.
Agreed. All right. Moving
All right.
on.
The matchup we've all been waiting for: Justin Jefferson versus Cooper Kupp. So, I think Kyle's point here is really he doesn't see Jefferson taking any kind of declining in any sense. He thinks he's just going to improve year in and year out, and that Kupp's best is just not going to reach Jefferson's floor. So, and I do agree with that. But I have these guys really close this year. I have Jefferson 8, Cooper Kupp 9, and the big difference between the two is going to be receptions. Actually, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I have Jefferson 6 and Cooper Kupp 9.
I was going to say,
Jefferson
no, DK
moves on.
Metcalf,
I was thinking
maybe,
DK Metcalf.
Yeah, next column.
Jefferson moves on. Cooper Kupp, I love Cooper Kupp this year. I think his ceiling is absolutely like just barely cracking the top 10, but I don't see him as like a top 5, 6 receiver.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This one's tough.
He was the top 5, Cooper Kupp, that is, in 2019. Maybe top 10. He's ADP's at 45 right now. The thing I don't like to tend to do is drafting a wide receiver in the 4th and 5th round is when they have a great defense, and they have a great defense. So I was saying Sean McVay is going to want their offense exploding too, but he's going to be smart and try to win. And with their defense as one of their biggest strengths, there's not huge upside. Consistency, yes. That's what I was trying to say with Robert Woods. I don't know if he's going to get the top 5 wide receiver. I don't see that happening again. I know you love him, Regan. So
No,
tell us what you think.
That was good insight on the defense. I didn't think of that. That's a good point. Really,
You know me. I think of the O-line and the defense, the boring stuff.
That's so true. It's not even funny.
And the schedule.
And weather.
Mm.
Damn Cleveland. I guess my real only thing on here is an easy win for Kyle to choose with Jefferson moving on. The only thing I have for Cooper Kupp is obviously we already talked about him. I'm excited about him. And I think he's going to be Matthew Stafford's number 1 wide receiver. The thing that happened last year with his numbers and why they might have dipped is Jared Goff only threw for 20 touchdowns. That's nothing. Cooper Kupp lives and dies by those touchdowns, and he's going to get a bunch from this year, I'm guessing. So,
All right.
Here's one more point. I think Matthew Stafford eclipses 600 passing attempts, especially with Cam Akers' injury and considering the extra game. So that's partly the reason that I think Cooper Kupp is going to be so high this year.
good point.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think that's why they're going to get Robert Woods involved in the running game more, because they're going to need to. There's some trick plays to get him out there on the outside with his speed. Alrighty, moving on. We got number 7 Metcalf versus number 10 Brown here. So it's pretty much a destiny. These two end up. Jesus Christ, Kyle. These two end up on this bracket together, both with bright futures. Can you stop moving the docket right now, Regan?
Trying to make it easier.
Nobody's listening now anyway. We're an hour in. Nobody's listening. These two might have been a bit closer in my ranking if Brown didn't miss a few games. Don't be surprised if these guys are ranked right next to each other this year. I could flip a coin, but on this one, my gut is telling me Brown will be more consistent and the entire Titans offense will be moving this year. So the winner is Brown here. So I'm not so sure. I mean, I do kind of agree with the coin flip thing. But Metcalf is ADP 16 right now. AJ Brown's ADP is 20th. So, yeah, people are kind of thinking along the same lines. He was the top 3 wide receiver the first half of the season. Then the second half, he was barely in the top 24. This DK Metcalf. They have a bad defense, though. So will the Titans. So these guys are going to be great. If I can get both of them later on with the trade, because I think Seattle's going to have a rough go at it in the beginning of the season, and I can get AJ Brown and trade for Metcalf later, that would be awesome.
Greedy.
But the route tree, I know. The route tree seems like it's going to be more developed from what they're reporting from camp. So look for the receptions to go up. Plus, he's a stud. Regan, your thoughts on Metcalf?
So I'm actually kind of down on both these guys compared to a lot of people.
Whoa.
I'm just nervous in general about what they're going to bring to the table. DK Metcalf, like you said, he was wide receiver 2 in the first 8 games last year, average. After, he was 25. I looked this up. I don't know if it's PPR points, but he had 44.9 fantasy points in the last 5 games. That could go up a little bit if it was PPR, so I apologize on that. But needless to say, that is crap for somebody that you're going to have to draft in the early second round. I don't want
it cost you leagues. It cost you leagues, man. Like, you thought you were going to win with him, and it certainly cost me down the stretch.
This is a simple way of saying when we say somebody has a high ceiling and a low floor. This is literally he could be number 2 or he could be number 25, and this is what you kind of have to weigh out. And back to the 5-point stance or whatever podcast we had, you have to use those early rounds for sure things. That's my motto. You have to do it. And this guy
Metcalf
to me.
Yeah, Metcalf's like an elevator. You know, you can go up to the top floor real quick, eye ceiling, and down to the bottom floor. Mr. Elevator.
Stairs also work.
Oh my god.
No, it has to be quick.
Escalators.
All right.
Carry on.
Moving on. What do you say, Ryan?
I do have DK Metcalf over AJ Brown, but and I have DK Metcalf as 8 overall, AJ Brown as 13 overall. But you're right, like the consistency between these two guys, they're so big play dependent. Both of them averaged over 15 yards per completion. So where they're going at, I agree with you guys. Like if we're talking PPR format, I'd rather target a guy who I know is going to get 100 plus catches, or I can anticipate is going to get 100 plus catches, over a guy who's going to get 85 to 90, but could have anywhere between 6 touchdowns and 13 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So I think where these guys are at, I'm looking elsewhere. But I still think that they're incredible talents, and likely there's a good chance that they'll both be wide receiver ones this year.
So you'd rather go running back instead? Is that what you're saying? Or
I'd either go running back or I'd go with a guy who I know is going to get 100 catches. You know, like if it's so close between even Cooper Kupp, like I think Cooper Kupp is going to eclipse 100 receptions easy.
Right. So you'd rather wait for Cooper Kupp.
I'd rather wait for Cooper Kupp, and I'd
Instead
rather
of
take
spending
somebody
that
else
capital.
for DK. Yes.
All right. I get that.
Like it.
Anything else?
Nah.
All right. Moving on.
Round 3.
So we got round 3 here. Ryan, who's in round 3?
All right. So round 3, we have number 5 DeAndre Hopkins versus number 9 Keenan Allen, and then to round off the semifinals, we have number 6 Justin Jefferson versus number 10 AJ Brown.
All right.
Ready.
Regan, you're up.
I'll take the first one. So we got number 5 DeAndre Hopkins versus number 9 Keenan Allen. So here's Kyle's write-up. Listen, no one here is more delusional about Justin Herbert, as well as a little less solid on Kyler Murray than Kyle. But here's the facts. He says he thinks Hopkins has cracked the top 5 wide receiver in PPR 5 times in 8 seasons, while Allen has only once in the same time. If Kyler Murray remains injury-free and Hopkins doesn't quit due to a vaccine being forced on him, Hopkins will have the edge. Well said, Kyle. As good as these two wide receivers are, I think it's easy to say that Hopkins should move on. And like I said before, too, Keenan Allen I am high on. Last 4 seasons, he's finished 4th, 8th, 12th, and 6th in PPR. 6th being with Justin Herbert, and that could go up or stay around the same. That's not a bad spot for where you're getting him. I think we said around early 3rd round. So they a couple quick notes on him. They had Joe Lombardi's coming in from the Saints. We should expect him to possibly play the Michael Thomas role. With Joe Lombardi taking over the offensive role, he could be the Michael Thomas of the Chargers.
Keenan Allen can with that.
Correct.
Yeah,
with the slant routes and the short passes, more of a quick offense. I think this is going to be huge for Keenan Allen's upside. Where his touchdowns go, I'm not sure, but he is still going to get those over 100 catches. What do you see? He had 147 targets, 5th overall last year. I don't see that going down. And with the addition, like I said, of Joe Lombardi, I could see them going up with the offensive scheme. Ryan, what do you think?
Well,
tell me how you really feel. Jesus.
Yeah, I think I have DeAndre Hopkins moving on here too. I love Keenan Allen. This is another guy who I know is going to get 100 plus receptions. So I'm really high on drafting him this year, especially where you can get him. I mean, right now it looks like he's kind of going early round 3. So
I have his ADP at 29 right now.
Do we know any insiders where we could get like the vaccination list? Because I think that would be very important information to have going into our drafts.
Kyle had a good point.
I don't want any lengthy, not suspensions, but lengthy, injury reserve visits or anything like that. So,
I tried to get cute with that last year, and it didn't work out. So I really wouldn't overthink it because you could still get it with the shot and be out for a bit too. You might miss that game. So
very true.
it all comes down to luck from there. Don't torture yourself. We have to dive deep with more than just our tip when we're drafted anyway. Don't let that deter you.
So don't keep passing on DeAndre Hopkins. Just
I wouldn't pass on him if he was a good cost right there because of that.
Oh man. All right, moving on. All right, so then the next semifinal here, we have AJ Brown versus Justin Jefferson. Kyle says each of these guys could use a few more targets, in my opinion. Very close matchup here going through the numbers. AJ being a bit more touchdown prone and Jefferson taking the yards and catch percentage. I think we will get to see more out of Jefferson just like Brown did in year 2, meaning the gap might open up even more. So I think we already talked about this, guys. Like Jefferson's probably going to get more catches, more targets than AJ Brown. Adam Thielen versus Julio Jones. I think I'd probably anticipate Julio Jones getting more targets than Adam Thielen. What do you guys think?
I mean, AJ Brown, he has his ADP at 20 right now. The offense, I said, offense is going to pass more, I think, because of Julio. Julio might help him take some coverage. I mean, AJ Brown's been triple coverage sometimes, and the play action is really what gets him open. So now if he's going to be able to get open because Julio's there too, I think it could be a really electric passing attack. Plus, he has new knees.
I got it.
It's always a good thing to have.
He had to get surgery. He played hurt all year last year,
Knees.
and he still had a great year. What are your thoughts, Regan?
So for me, I just want to, bring Julio back into this too. Like I said, this is gonna either help or hurt both wide receivers. But they did lose Corey Davis. They did lose Jonnu Smith. Those receptions are there to be taken. Those could be easily Julio Jones. And like you said, with A.J. Brown being triple covered at some points, he was still first among wide receivers in broken tackles. So imagine trying to do that on single coverage or double coverage. It's a lot easier than breaking 3 tackles. So A.J. Brown, his ceiling goes up for me if that's the case. If he could break those tackles and break something off for a touchdown, a little bit easier when he's got Julio on the other side. The only question is, like I brought up with Julio, is the run game. I think they will get their touches, but do they get as much as we hope they get? I guess the sky's the limit for these two. They're both amazing players. I did read one thing on here. This will be the last thing on these guys, but I did see somebody saying that they think Julio is still the number 1 here. Do you guys agree with that, or do you guys say AJ Brown? What do you think, Ryan?
I would say AJ Brown, just based off of familiarity, dependability, and just explosiveness and youth. So
Dependability's
got to be one big one. You agree, Mac, with AJ Brown?
Oh, for sure. I say AJ Brown's definitely still the one there. He's their future right out there, and Julio Jones is just there to make him run. Why are you shaking your head, Ryan?
I was just thinking about how I can't say familiarity. I still can't say it. You guys help me out.
I ain't attempted.
Oh, man. Sure, that's a tough word, dude. That's a tough word on the spot. But
I can say
we gotta move on anyway.
Well, that's good because we're on the final one.
All right. It all rounds up to this.
Up to the time.
I wanted to be punny. So our final round is Hopkins versus Jefferson here. So Kyle's saying, I'm not sure if it's the lack of sleep or complete brain overload. He must have been writing this pretty late. But I'm a firm believer that if Cousins can give Diggs 150 targets in 2018, then there's absolutely no reason Jefferson can't get there and surpass Hopkins. The only department Hopkins beats this guy in last year was targets, Same catch percentage, same amount of yards. Everything else went to Jefferson with 35 less targets. So I think he's kind of tipping his hand here, but let's find out who the winner is here. And
Fatality.
Jefferson is our winner. So big surprise. He liked him a lot. We'll touch on Hopkins first. Regan, what do you like about Hopkins? What do you not like? Do you agree with Kyle? What do you think?
I don't agree with Kyle, but I could see easily how this could either go. Either way. Hopkins, he's seen 150 targets in 6 straight seasons. You can't beat that. You know he's going to get that. He finished as a top 5 receiver in five of them. Out of the 6 I said, he averaged 14 or more fantasy points per game. The guy's amazing. They brought in AJ Green and Randall Moore. I don't think that's going to really kill his output. Kyle Murray's going to throw to his favorite target. It's going to be consistent. Simple enough. I think this kind of is a toss-up for me, though, at these two. I think Hopkins is more of the sure thing, and Justin Jefferson is the up-and-coming new thing that might not be, a definite yet. Yet, I say. Ryan?
Yeah.
So I think Jefferson goes up, but I also think Hopkins goes up a little bit because we're talking about year 2, and we all know how important familiarity is. Yes!
Nailed it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's all I have to say.
I was checking Ryan's rankings to make sure. So you have Hopkins at 4 and Jefferson at 6. I like it.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty low on Hopkins at 7. The point spread really isn't that far apart, though, from everybody from 5 and 7. So Justin Jefferson, I don't predict a sophomore slump, man. I think the touchdowns from Thielen are going to go to either Cook or him. They're going to get him more involved with his snap percentage. But yeah, Hopkins, you want that consistency. You want Mr. Dependable. Definitely go with him. But Justin Jefferson, I mean, both these guys could be wide receiver 1 on the year, right?
Agreed.
Yes.
Okay. So if you want consistency or you want to go with a flashy new toy with Jefferson, go with him. ADP for Hopkins, 17. ADP for Jefferson, 22.
Close.
Yeah, Jefferson's targets, they went up from an average of 6 to 10 later on the season. I don't know. I'm going to take Jefferson, so I agree with Kyle.
Okay. I had one thing on. So for Jefferson, just looking at some averages. So Kirk Cousins averaged 33.2 pass attempts per game, which is right at his average for the past 3 years. So if Justin Jefferson played consistently through the whole season, with Kirk Cousins averaging his usual passing attempts per game, that was necessarily his floor, and it should go up this year if he gets the bonus of those other games that he, if he kept his average pace going. My only concern with that is the defense needs to get better, which we think it did. Irv Smith could take passes away. I don't think that's really a concern, but the defense actually is really what concerns me. This team, if the defense gets better, they should run the ball more, taking passes away from the receivers. I don't think it's going to take a crazy amount away, so I still think Jefferson is a top 10 wide receiver, but I think that does take down his ceiling a little bit. I think last year, though, is somewhat of a floor for him. I think he could easily get that. I think there's no reason why he shouldn't. I just don't know if the upside is totally there from where he left off.
Yeah, I got you. They were trying to rebuild their defense as well, too, so they might not have to pass as much. That's why Cousins' numbers were up so high. But, Ryan, any thoughts on them, or are you done?
No, I'm done. I aced my last comment there, so I'm good.
You got to quit.
Cousins was averaging about 38 pass attempts per game mid-season. It rounded off to 33 as usual. So
Gotcha.
that's just to keep it in perspective on why they need to run more.
Mm-hmm. They do. I hope Dalvin Cook goes off this year for me. So congratulations, Justin Jefferson. You are the winner.
King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Besides the other receivers that we took out instead of you, we got Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Calvin Ridley as our 1 through 4 there. I have Tyreek Hill number 1 and Devontae Adams number 2. So I don't know.
Sounded
you guys
stupid.
You think Devontae Adams is just going to repeat, huh? How
He's
original.
so much more consistent. Tyreek Hill has more big plays.
Mm-hmm.
Simple enough.
Mahomes is on a revenge tour, and he needs Tyreek Hill to go off for him.
And Rodgers isn't on revenge tour.
No, he's ready to be traded out of there. He's entertaining retirement. Come on.
I have Tyreek Hill
Rodgers is
5 this year.
I don't get it.
Calvin Ridley 2 and Stephon Diggs 3. Because of the big plays, man. You know, we're talking PPR. Calvin Ridley's going to get a ton of targets, ton of receptions. Stephon Diggs could also do the same thing. And Tyreek Hill, you know, he's a few big plays away, a few, I don't know, offensive line injuries away from not getting those big plays.
I think he might have been tired doing his rankings just like Kyle was tired doing some of them.
Well, we appreciate it, Kyle, for doing that for us.
Great
setting
stuff.
up the rankings there. If somebody out there wants to do the tight ends ones next week, let us know. We're running out of friends. That's why we had to use Kyle. But anyway.
Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Thanks, Kyle. What were you saying, Regan?
No, it's necessarily not that we have a paying system, but if there was paying going on here, we would have had to pay him anyway. So
we owe him a lot. We'll buy him a beer sometime.
He takes all my beers.
I know. Moocher.
Hate him.
Jesus Christ. Any leftovers, guys? You good? We've been here for a while.
Yeah, League of Extraordinary Men, year 12, drafting on Saturday, baby. Here we go.
Year 12, that's all it's been?
Freaking out.
That's it.
And I've never won.
To the test. Yeah, Reeks has been a bridesmaid a couple of times. Never the bride.
I've gotten second like 2 or 3 times. It's bull.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't want to don't know, that's our league that we've been doing since just after high school. Not to age ourselves. Or
12 years crap, you did age yourselves.
Pretty much. So yeah, it'll be fun. I have 3 this weekend, so I'm going to be needing a lot of research done. And they're all different formats too, so it kind of sucks.
This hasn't been enough research for you. We're like 22 episodes in or 23 episodes in.
That's the
you
problem.
You should be good to go.
I try helping everybody else's style, not just mine. You know, Regan's mom likes one way, your mom likes another way. Depends on the night. Good night, everybody.
Well, Dak, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.